Well, dear one, we've been on the road now for just over a month.
Yeah.
It's time to start heading home, heading east.
Yes, it is. We've still got some really fun things ahead here that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we got a few more stops scheduled on the way home.
Yep.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth. Live simple,
Live free. And in the last video, you saw us in Buena Vista in Colorado.
Yes.
And we, Jim and I, my friend Jim and I, did the four-wheeler tour, and we looked at St. Elmo, Ghost Town. After that, we headed back to the Front Range in Colorado, and we have a lot of friends here because she grew up here and I lived here for 7 years. So, and many of these people we haven't seen in decades.
Yes.
So we've spent now the past week visiting with our friends in various different places along the Front Range and up in Wyoming. And we didn't film any of it because we were mostly just visiting with friends.
Yep. Some of them we actually knew from Germany and then ended up knowing them in Colorado. There's one friend that, a couple of friends that I've seen that go back to when I was like 11 years old. Yeah. So it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's, we haven't been traveling much the last week, and the travel break was good too.
Yeah, and just good visits.
But it was mainly some of these people we haven't seen in literally 40 years.
Yeah.
So it was truly amazing. And so anyway, now we're headed home. We're headed east, back to Virginia, but we've got several stops along the way that we're excited about.
One of the first places that we're going to be meeting with somebody will be in Kansas. And I have a niece who is doing some amazing things there. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. Really proud of her.
Yep. So on the way home, we're trying to drive a little bit less, take it easy a little bit more. So we are planning on 4 hours a day of driving. 4 hours of drive time according to the GPS, which once you take breaks and stuff is more like 5. But so we left this morning from Wyoming and we headed southeast on 2-lane roads across the prairie in eastern Colorado. We hit Interstate 70 and here we are. We just crossed into Kansas, and this is the Kansas Welcome Center in the rest area, the first rest area in Kansas. And this is a beautiful place. So the travel and information desk inside closes at 5. We got here just before that. I was able to talk to some of the staff members just as they were locking up and leaving for the evening. And I said, this is a beautiful place. It looks like camping is allowed here overnight. Is overnight parking allowed? She said, absolutely. She said, in any rest area in Kansas, 24-hour parking is allowed. What a breath of fresh air. There are so many places in the country where the authorities are just paranoid and hyper about people parking overnight, and I don't understand why. But Kansas is wonderful. Go into any rest area, park 24 hours, no issues. She said we've even got a parking loop in the back so you can get away from the noise of the semis. So here's where the semis park, and then in the back there's this beautiful looking park. It's got a loop, paved loop that we can park on. It's got picnic tables, it's got benches, barbecue grills, water. So this is the loop back here where we can park. It goes all the way around. As you can see it's there through the trees on the other side of the loop. And we are the only one here. There's going to be a little bit of highway noise, but it's not too bad because since we're back behind the trucks, we're further away from the highway than they are. And the staff lady even went out of her way to tell me that they have this free dump station back here on the loop, which I definitely took advantage of. Kansas, I salute you.
So we got into this really special area of Kansas. I'll show you a little bit here. This is just like driving along the main road. It's beautiful, beautiful country there. And my niece has a job there. And she is a conservator. She's working to conserve this last remaining bit of tallgrass prairie. Many, many years ago, there were millions of acres of tallgrass prairie. Now there's only 4% left that haven't been used for agriculture.
Right, 4% that have not been tilled.
Tilled and used for agriculture. So they're working very hard to preserve this beautiful natural prairie land. There's somewhat over 11,000 acres, I think.
The grasses in the natural tallgrass prairie are all native grasses. Once you till it, then you don't have native grasses anymore. You've got all kinds of invasive species. So the 4% that's left is the only part left in the entire world with these types of native grasses.
Right, right. And so while we were there, she took us up into some of the areas where she's working, preserving seeds, all sorts of really interesting things. Now, it was requested that we not film where she took us, so we didn't. The clip I just showed you was from the main road as we're driving along. So we honored their wishes. But you can go to a website. It's called, Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve. And we can share some pictures that are from their website. Those are already published. But it was a pretty incredible experience, actually. We saw buffalo. And one of the reasons that she has been so good with this job is that she's had prior experience with what they call controlled burns. And we did not realize before how necessary natural fires are to preserving different ecosystems.
Yeah, she was talking about trees in the area. And she said that they consider trees to be an invasive species because they're not natural in that area. And she said, you know, I've always wondered, as soon as you cross into Kansas, you drive about 50 miles or something like that, and then all of a sudden the trees disappear.
Yeah, it's all beautiful prairie.
It's like a line there where within 10 miles all the trees are gone. And I've always wondered about that, and I just assumed that out further west in in Kansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma and all that there's not enough rain for the trees. That's not the case at all. She was talking about this, and that the trees to her are invasive and they need to control them. She said that the main things that kept the trees in check and kept it as prairie land, there were several factors. One is that there were literally millions, tens of millions of buffalo that roamed all over the place, and they grazed it off. And so anytime a tree would start to grow and it'd be this tall, it would get grazed off.
Right, the American bison. Yes.
Yeah, the American bison. And she said that basically, the way they raise cattle now or livestock, they put them in a field and they graze it until it's dead. She said that these herds of buffalo, bison, would travel all over, and so they would move into an area and they would graze it down, and then they would move on, and then that area would be able to rejuvenate itself until the next herd came through. And so these huge herds of millions of buffalo would just graze off the whole area, and that's one of the main things that kept all the trees in check. And then another thing was fires. The natural fires started by lightning, and that's why there's no trees there.
Yeah,
that was fascinating to me.
Yeah, the fires are very important.
Yeah,
they'll just burn off just the top layer, which allows all this strong stuff growing underneath to pop back up. It fertilizes things. It keeps things that shouldn't be there under control. And so one of the things she does there is work with teams and like interns and things, and to make sure that they have properly set important fires that they keep under control, but that help maintain the natural environment. She said that cattle just lay down in the grass, but she said buffalo wallow. And there's something about how those huge animals wallow that also help to maintain a certain kind of ecosystem in the area. In fact, there were some buffalo there, when we were there with her. But there's a lot of different beautiful kinds of plants, and they just they get taller and taller. Some of them by like September can be 6 feet tall or even more. It's really easy to read about this if you look like on the website and all the different information. But we found it to be a beautiful, beautiful environment.
Yeah,
and Kansas isn't flat. It's really rolling.
I was absolutely amazed. I was just saying, okay, it's grass, big deal. There's a big difference between just a field of grass and a natural tall grass prairie.
Yes.
One of the things she said, well, like Elizabeth said, some of those grasses are 6 feet tall or more. But one of the things that Zoe said was that, in a rainforest, there's 3 different levels. You have the canopy level, and then you have the growth in the middle, and then you have the ground growth. She said the tall grass prairie land is the same way. You have the tall grasses that go up 6 or 8 feet, and then there's a middle growth area, and then there's the down at the ground. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of species of plants and animals that live in that lowest level.
Yeah, the tallgrass prairie is home to so many animals, so many birds, and I'm proud of her. She's got a good background in all of this. She's a good scientist, and she understood so much about it, and how that by preserving the actual natural plants, how everything in every layer of the ecosystem way down into the earth stays in better balance. Certain kinds of these grasses have deep, deep roots, and they pull nutrition up from way deep. A lot of them are legumes, and they will lock nitrogen into the soil. So she'll actually go around very carefully gathering just certain amounts of the natural seeds, and then take them to areas that are being more invaded or having more of a struggle, and planting them there to help keep this whole area natural.
She had been spending days and would be spending another couple of weeks collecting seeds, and she did just a little bit of it when we were there, just to show us what she did. She walked up to a grass, and she was able to tell us exactly what species it was. It looked like wheat to me, but she said no.
She knew what it was.
And she would just take her hand on there and just run it like where all the wheat, the little kernels are, just run it up there and gather all those seeds in her hand and put it in a bag. And she says she's been walking around through the prairie for days just collecting seeds like that of the native grasses,
right?
Because they've got other areas that they're trying to rejuvenate by planting the native grasses there.
Yeah, and she knew exactly how much was okay to take and make sure that it left the area in really good shape. She didn't over collect seeds.
Right.
So some of them, it takes a long time to get the amount of seeds that she needs, because she'll get just a little bit. But she's been doing that just patiently up in these beautiful, wild, rolling grasslands up there. We felt very privileged because there's places where you can certainly walk, but only the people that are doing the work there can go up into some of those places. And she very carefully took us up in there, and I felt really privileged.
Well, she said, no, actually there are trails all through the whole thing, and they're all open to foot traffic.
Yeah, you can walk everywhere.
She took us up there in her four-wheel drive truck, and she said this is all open for people to hike, but she said very few people ever hike back this far.
Yeah.
So she took us up onto a little knoll where it was a 360-degree view. We couldn't see anything except the grasses as far as you can see.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I got a whole new perspective and a whole new appreciation of what the tall grass prairie was and what it is. And I am very happy to see that they've put together this preserve to try to save the remaining 4%.
Yes,
it was beautiful. It wasn't just boring, empty grassland. Where's all the trees? It was beautiful in its own right.
The different colors, the different flowers, the different things waving in the wind, and all these like knolls and hills. It was absolutely stunningly wild and beautiful.
And this was in late August, and she said that in the spring, when some of the rains first come, she said all the hills just flower.
Yeah.
Very beautifully.
Yeah, all different colors. And the ironweed, I think she said, is very purple. Now it's getting to be farther into the season, so it was getting more of a gray color. But and the sage and it was absolutely beautiful. And like I said, we wanted to respect the wishes of the Park Service and not do a lot of filming up there. If you go to, just look up,
we'll put the link down in the
we'll put a link
to the website.
Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve. The part she's working in used to be a huge ranch. The big farmhouse there and the barn and everything are just gorgeous, and so like I said, her job is to make sure that the fires are correct and that this is preserved. She's working for a conservancy, and I don't know, I was just really proud of her, and what a wonderful, cute little town Strong City is.
Yeah, this whole area used to be a ranch. I think it was called the Z-Bar.
Yeah, Z-Bar, that sounds right.
And I believe in the 80s it was purchased and then proposed that it be made into a national park. And I don't know everything that happened, but there's a national conservancy that went in there and started working towards that. And now it is actually a national park preserve.
Yeah.
Though it's not run by the national park, it's still run by this nature conservancy.
Yes.
And most of the prairie that's left is in this area of southeast Kansas, but then there's a little bit just south of the border in Oklahoma.
And I think there was a little bit up north, but I can't remember exactly where. It's a lot of good information available, and I wish I could remember every single thing that Zoe said because it was fascinating. But I'll just never forget that experience.
So, I didn't know anything about this. I thought we were just going to stop in and see Zoe for the evening and move on, because she's our niece. I didn't have any idea what she was doing. I didn't know anything about the Tallgrass Prairie, and I was blown away. I really was.
And very impressed with her understanding of the ecology and how many plants she knows and how she knows how things should be done properly. I was pretty blown away by her. I've known her since she was little, and my goodness, she has become a really excellent conservator, a scientist that really knows how to keep this place the way that it always was. And it's an amazing amount of knowledge. Yeah. Like Bill said, it wasn't just there's grass, it was like that's a this and this is a that, and she knew what all of them were.
And that they're constantly fighting to keep the invasive trees out.
Yeah.
And she said, they do controlled burns every year to mimic the nature, And then she said that any trees that aren't killed during the controlled burns, they actually go in and cut them out.
You have to, or it would take over. They would completely take over. Trees are very aggressively strong species, and they would take over. And there's no longer, in that area, hundreds of thousands of buffalo also that would be playing their part.
Right.
So, anyway, we just found it to be fascinating and just something I never ever knew about before. So thank you, Zoe. We were really kind of blown away by the experience.
So after we visited Zoe for the afternoon, we came here to spend the night. This is the Chase County Fishing Lake. It's a very beautiful place. There's pit toilets there that were very clean. There's no running water, but when we got here in the evening, there were a couple people here doing some evening fishing, but last night we were the only ones here. There's dozens of campsites here, and it was completely empty. And this is completely free. This is amazing. This is a beautiful place. We loved it. We just spent one night here, and now we're off again. So when we started this video heading east, I didn't know what we were going to film. I mean,
Right.
it's like it was just going to be on the highway. What are we going to film? I was blown away by the prairie and this whole experience. So now,
Well, and I also, so if you watch this, if I get any facts wrong, I'm so sorry. We are trying to refer people to good information. We tried to remember.
so now we're going to continue heading east. We're going to visit with some family a little bit more, and
Yes.
then where are we going after that?
Branson. And
Branson.
I'm looking forward to that.
Branson, Missouri. That'll be our next video.
So,
So thanks for watching.
live simple.
Live free. You be blessed.
Yes, we love you guys, and we'll take you along. I'm excited to show you Branson.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.